It's been about 5 days since Sir John Wallace was killed in rather alarming circumstances. His grandniece, Miss Martha Carter, known to her friends as Maddie, has taken a few days out of the city to attempt to begin her recovery from both bodily injury and mental strain of attempting things that should not be attempted. But something has drawn her back to the city. Some pull you can't really put a name to. It's drawn you back to Sir John's house. And as you move through the rooms, there's an eerie quiet to the place. The servants all either gone or dead. Even James is nowhere to be seen at the moment as you move through the quiet rooms upstairs. And your previous fears of mist and fog don't seem quite as pressing now. But there is a sense of something in the house. There's presence watching you as you move through the quiet rooms down towards the library, the dining room where Sir John was killed. And as you move through the house, you realise the house is not quite completely silent. You can hear the soft crackle of a fire burning in a grate in the dining room. Now, you've not seen anyone else in the house, and you do not recall lighting a fire. You can hear the soft crack of wood burning in the hearth.
I go to look for the source of... I go to the dining room. I look for what may have started the fire.
Okay, as you move through the dining room, you can see for a moment the colour's all wrong. For a moment the room is lit by this faint greenish glow, this flickering green flame from the hearth. And then, as you blink, the colours return to right. It's the warm orange glow of a small fire burning in the dining room fireplace.
I'll go stand next to it. I want to, I don't know, put my hands on the mantelpiece above the fireplace. Just rest there, see if I can see that green light again.
Okay, as you do so, as you place your hands on the mantelpiece, the flames seem to lick a little higher for a moment. And Maddie, I would like you to make me a sanity roll here, just to determine something.
The sanity roll, the green one?
Yes, please.
That is a fail.
Okay. So you place your hands on the hearth, the flames lick a little higher for a moment, and for a moment again, the room is bathed in this eerie green glow, and you can hear this sound, distant wailing of frantic pipes. You get a sense of great distance, almost as you're looking at yourself from a far distance away. And then you are jolted back to the present by the sound of the door. Knocker hammering on wood.
I stay where I am, just listening. See if maybe the knocking will go away.
Okay, so as the knock comes on the door, we go back a short while and a short distance across London to the Savoy Hotel, where a rather bizarre conveyance is leaving the hotel, accompanied by an appropriate safety marshal with a flag to warn people of the dangers of this hellish machine that is set forth upon the roads. And, well, what's going on here, Zachary and company?
So the top is down, even though it is winter. The horn kept getting pressed as people were being herded out of the way. And after about the 8th bump of the phantom going over the cobblestones, Zachary begins to cough, and there's just a little bit of blood on every time he coughs. And that because Ben read the healing rules, and he done got messed up by almost drowning on dry land. So he looks over at the two, and ladies, I may have to make an extended detour. It turns out that having what I believe to be a river trout embedded in one's torso hurts physically a lot more than I thought it would, and I'm going to require a hospital. So if you'd like, I can have my man here drop you off after I check myself in. You can go wherever you like, but I'm not going to be very much use for the immediate future.
Of course, Zachary. I want you to be as healthy as you can be, though I thought that might have been an obvious thing. Having a fish in your parts or in your person might be a problem.
As an albino, darling, I am used to a certain amount of discomfort upon my frail constitution, and I often forget just how hurt I am compared to the median, which is a constant level of discomfort and low-grade pain. So I'm going to go there, and I will send word that I am healed when I am able to walk without this hacking cough and the accompanying plasma that seems to want to escape my body.
Of course, and we would be happy to help you, right, Lottie?
Yes, as long as you're healthy, you are welcome. But since you are not healthy, I do recommend you remedy that. Good idea.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad that we're all on the same page. I will see you all presently. Stephen, could you be a gem and drop me off at the nearest hospital, preferably one that doesn't reek of open sewage?
I will endeavour to do my best, though it is London.
Well, all I can ever ask is for people to do their best.
So, Zachary gets dropped off at the hospital, and we'll return to him in a while. But his driver continues on with the two ladies and deposits them at the doorstep of number 18 Grosvenor Square, the home of the late, debatably great, Sir John Wallace.
Well, isn't he fun?
Oh, my dear, he is a headache, but he is interesting. So,
And he knows things too. That's the interesting thing. There was something fantastical that he showed me, and I think with him being, well, he's been invited to the Belfont estate,
yes.
and we could probably utilize the access to figure out what they're scheming, perhaps.
Oh, no, I don't disagree. He's useful. I just, a bit pretentious, a bit fascinating, but we've met all sorts of characters more deadly than he is, at least as far as we know. So, as of right now, I'm not complaining.
That's good. Right. You wanted to come here and look at the books, and I do want to hear more about this spontaneous human combustion thing.
Yes, that's what I'm looking into. The green flame. I mean, it sounds like it could be alchemical, which is where I started first. It could be just a moniker. It could be a reference to something from the past. It could be a cult. It could be just a gang. There's numerous possibilities, and considering how strange it was and how difficult it would be for that to be something that occurs naturally, I figured this would be the best place to start research, yes.
And the best place that we have access to. So, shall we? And Lady Irene does go to knock on the door.
Knock echoes through the almost empty house. There is no response.
Well, it's very polite of you to knock, but I don't think anyone's here. It's our estate.
You're right.
We have keys, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Maddie's probably out still. And yeah, we kind of jumble through and start opening the door.
When I hear the door open, I decide to go the back way around and take the servant's path upstairs.
Okay. Could Lottie and Irene give me a listen check, please, as they open the door and head inside the house?
I don't hear anything.
No, neither of you hear.
Cool. Nobody's home. I would honestly probably just walk around. I wasn't here when everything kind of happened and transpired, and so I'd be interested in just checking it out and seeing what's going on. So I'd honestly walk most of the house until I end up at the library.
The library itself is on the ground floor. It's at the first room of the house. So you can do like a loop around the house and return to the library.
Mm-hmm.
Or, yeah,
That's what I did.
so you move through. Like the place, it's empty, but it's not been closed up yet. Like there's no one's got around to draping sheets across things. Everything's pretty much as you remember it the last few times you've been there. Someone's clearly scrubbed the dining room table to within an inch of its life. The house is cold and empty feeling. You have a window round the ground floor. There's the library, the dining room, the doors to Sir John's rooms are closed, but not locked. And you know that upstairs is the drawing rooms and what was Maddie's room.
We found Sir John at the dining room table.
Well, just wanted to see the place and see how it's wound up. Not so bad, I suppose.
We'll probably need to get someone to come in and clean the place up, or get his name's John, right? To come back.
Yeah. I don't want to do anything until Maddie's here. It's more her place than ours, even if we were in the will. Doesn't feel right.
I agree with you. Let's go and use the library then and see
Yeah.
what we can find.
It's good to me.
Okay, so you return to the library. Meanwhile, Maddie, from the floor above, you can hear Lottie and Irene's voices sort of echoing up. You can hear them moving around in the house.
And I know that it's Lottie and Irene.
Yeah, I don't think they're like talking in whispers, and they're only
No, we're not.
the floor below, and they've been sort of moving around through the house. So yeah, you recognize their voices.
Okay. In that case, I am going to go down the front stairs. I'm going to make sure the front door is shut and locked. When I come down from the stairs, and then I will go to find them.
Okay, so you head down, and you probably come across them in the library as they're just beginning on the task. So you can see. You've had a quick look through here, and actually, I think you had a fairly good look through here in the past. And you know, there's lots of books on history and mythology and all manners of other things, as well as a few odder tomes tucked away on the shelves. But yeah, you're just starting to peruse the shelves when you hear footsteps, and Maddie appears in the doorway.
Maddie! I thought you were out.
I was trying to recover, but something. I feel like I need to be here. And Maddie is moving kind of stiffly to all appearances. She is dressed entirely in black, and she does have a black veil on.
What exactly called to you?
I'm not sure. I haven't found it yet.
Can we help you look?
Sure. I was just going room to room to see if it was something that was in one of the other rooms first. But if you need to use the library, that's fine. I will continue to look in the rooms.
Well, I mean, it's nice to see you again. I haven't seen you in a while. I'm happy to help you. So I don't want you to be wandering by yourself.
Oh, it's fine. I made sure to lock the door. All the doors to the outside are locked.
Okay. Well, yes, I did have some research I wanted to do. I have a case I'm investigating for a friend down in Portsmouth, but I am here for the time being, and it is nice to see you again.
People are randomly exploding into fire.
Just one so far, but it was intriguing enough to catch my attention, especially. I don't know. I begin to believe in
fire.
Yes. Well, you think of the duality of fire and people drowning on land. I don't know. There might be a connection. There might not be. It might be someone just had a lit cigarette they forgot about. It's hard to tell, but yes. Do you know anything about a green flame? Either a group or the meaning or anything like that?
Briefly.
Well, what do you mean by briefly?
It's a cult.
Okay.
What?
Much like the one for the sea.
Yes, well, do we have any books on them? Those would be my culprits then.
I have one book that has some information, but I'll not let anyone else read it. I can tell you some of the information if you'd like.
Yes, I suppose that's fine. I'll take out a notepad that I keep with me.
Keeper, how detailed does the book that I have give information for
Please.
the Cult of the Green Flame?
Well, let's give a roll against the book's mythos rating here. So roll me a D100, please. And we will see
That is an 81.
an 81. Not very detailed at all. It mentions only sort of a briefest mention of a small and obscure cult that is said to revere something that is described as a green flame, but it doesn't go into much more detail than that.
Okay. I will give that information to Detective Lottie. And then I'll pause for a little bit.
Yes, well, thank you. This is invaluable.
Are you sure
well-
you're right, Maddie?
I'm still in pain, but I'll be fine. Thank you for all your help.
Just anything you need, all right?
I will start perusing the bookshelves looking for anything that might have more detail, even though I've been in and out of these bookshelves. But I'm kind of also listening because I was, distracted earlier, and I'm trying to listen for that again.
Okay, give me a library use and a listen roll, please. And anyone else searching for stuff in the bookshelves is also welcome to give me a library use roll.
I got a success for both of those rolls.
Okay, and an extreme success from Lady Irene. So as you begin to peruse the library, sort of pouring through books, you know this is going to take some time, but you have time. And we will return to what the ladies find in their perusal of the bookshelves in a moment. I think we should just check in briefly with Zachary as he has been checked over at the hospital. Zachary, what are you telling them about the source of your injuries?
Oh, it was absolutely hilarious. Basically, I'm new here, and the Thames is such an interesting place to view. The hustle and bustle of all the ships and barges going by in such a congested area, we here in the States only see very rarely. Perhaps on the Mississippi, but the scent and environs there is absolutely disgusting. Turns out the Thames isn't that much different. Um, However, I had the great misfortune of attempting to get a better view at one of the more interesting barges happening by. Seems they were carrying some kind of obelisk of some sort. I guess it was destined for the London Museum, and I fell. I was attempting to grab onto a rail, failed miserably, and I took a tumble. As you could tell from my stench, the Thames is not particularly. The odor is very distinctive. Almost drowned. It was awful. Truly comical moment. A fish managed to swim in down my throat. Pulled it out, but everything seems to be okay.
Fish in your... Okay, hang on. Give us a deep breath, please. I'd never... A fish in your lungs? That's...
I don't know if it made it all the way to my lungs, but it definitely entered some places that most would have to pay money for.
Oh, is it? And this, you fell in the river, you say?
Yes, I did. I also would like to add, I have what I suspect to be cracked ribs, a very low constitution, given my albinism,
Yes.
and I'm very, very cranky about this whole thing. So if we could skip the questions and get on to the putting me in traction.
Yes, yeah,
and
sorry. Please forgive me. I
Also, my
don't
ribs
usually
hurt.
work. I don't usually work in this bit of the hospital, but there were a few people who are off sick, so they've called me up from the basement just to
Oh, you're the basement doctor.
That's not the term people usually call me, but yes, I usually work down below.
Excellent. So you were questioning me regarding my time in the Thames, and meanwhile, you yourself are the basement doctor. Well, hey, that means that you're probably very well read because you've had all that time, and are raring to go because you haven't had a chance to get on out there and help. So, for now, if you could just be a gem and put me in traction, find me a quiet place to rest, and if you could get me some morphine. I am in a lot of pain, and
Of course,
I
yes.
could use a little bit of a vacation would be wonderful. Let's say a 6-hour vacation. Hit me up.
Yes, I will attend to some morphine. Sorry, your talk of fish in lungs just disturbed me for a moment there.
Oh, I could see how that might be
sorry,
a little...
you're a little chattier than my normal patients.
Well, I figured since I was about to drown, I might not get my allocation of words in before I die that I'm supposed to have. So let's get it out all at once, shall we?
A few more drops.
Excellent.
Laudanum.
Oh, laudanum. One of my favorites.
Drink up.
Absolutely. Here's to getting me fucked up, Doctor. Now, don't screw up on the casting. Clang.
Won't barely ever do. And as sort of the world becomes much fuzzier around the edges, you hear the briefest mention of Dr. Muttered of, I don't know if we just worse, fish or crabs.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And with that, we return to the library, where, digging around through the books, Lottie, you're not having much luck. Sir John's organisation system is, irregular. It's a kind way of putting it. He seems to file books by some sort of nebulous connections rather than putting all the things that belong together. So you've not had much luck in finding anything useful. Maddie, you have found a book that seems to be a slightly rambling recollection of some guy's visit to a town once where he met a man who saw a green flame in a cave somewhere. It's all very second-hand and third-hand, and you suspect the person who was writing it was either drunk or possibly on a large amount of drugs. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But he definitely saw a green flame in a cave. Or maybe he didn't. But you're finding it a little hard to focus on the words, because you can hear, again, that distant piping occasionally from the other room. And soft whispering in the corner, like, just in the corner of the room, but when you turn, there's nothing there.
Detective, I think I might have found a book that has some information, though it's not... I'm not sure exactly how accurate it is. But if you want to go ahead and give it a look through, I need to go to another room for a moment. And I will pass her the book as I leave the library.
Okay. Are you heading upstairs or through into the dining room?
I'm going through the dining room first.
As you pass through, the flames in the grate flicker green for just a moment again.
I'll stare at it for a moment as it's flickering the green, but the moment it goes back to normal, I will leave the room and head upstairs. I think I'll light a fire in my room.
Okay, so you head on upstairs. Meanwhile, Lady Irene, searching round the bookshelves, looking here and there, you flick through these various books that mention green fire in more of an alchemical and chemical sense. But then, as you move through the bookshelves, you reach one row of books where you realise there's a second row of books placed behind it.
That's strange.
The first row of books appear to be a particularly boring selection of historical texts, mixed in with some Latin rhetoric. But the ones on the shelf behind it are more of a notebook in style. A series of leather-bound books, all bearing the same cramped handwriting.
Interesting.
And there appears to be an entire shelf of them.
Maddie, you may want to come over here and take a look at this.
Oh, yes. Well, what did you find?
Look. Hidden in plain sight here.
Indeed, I didn't even realize.
Wasn't expecting this at all, but it's Sir John. He was full of lots of surprises.
Yes, I suppose that's true. Let's see. Well, I'll go ahead and leaf through it.
So if you pick a book off the shelf at random, or are you starting at a particular end of the shelf?
I would start at random.
Okay, so you pull off a book at random, and you can see on like the first page, like neatly inked, is says 1834, and then the first line it says Jan 1st. But then beneath that is what could best be described as utter nonsense, a scramble of letters that's not English or any other language you recognise.
This is...
As you flick through, you can see there's dates you can clearly make out, proceeding, as one would expect, from January the 1st onwards throughout the year. But the actual contents of the entries is obscured.
It's a Jan 1st?
Yes, January 1st.
Oh. And does it seem like it is a language, or does it seem like it's nothing?
It seems
like, is there a pattern? Like, does it look like
definitely a pattern?
Like...
There's definitely spaces. And most of the letters are the Latin alphabet. There's a few Greek letters thrown in there.
Okay.
But,
so there's recognizable characters and
and
spaces
recognizable
outside.
patterns, and you can see
Okay.
some combinations and some phrases that seem repeated.
Okay.
Like particular patterns of letters.
I would go all the way to the first book on the shelf.
Okay. You look back to the first book, which is dated as 1821.
Is it still the same, or is there any kind of...
It's not got quite as much written. The writing looks a little less certain in a way. It's still the same strange combination of symbols, but whereas the later one looks like whoever was writing it was fairly confident what they were writing, here you can tell by their penmanship there's sort of a haltingness to it, so someone had to stop and check what they were writing at every moment.
I don't really know what to make of these at the moment, but they are important, I think.
Some kind
Someone
of code,
who-
maybe?
Some kind of... I don't know if it's something I could simply cipher. I mean, I need like a linguist or some kind of... someone whose profession is this. If it's an ancient language or a combination or code, it's a bit beyond my depth. I mean, I can try. And on my notepad, I'll see if I can try to make some connections. Is there a skill that I can use to see if I can decipher it?
I think I'd put this down as raw intelligence. See if you can manage to make us have any luck on cracking this. So, with just a plain success, you can't yet crack it, but you can think of ways that you can do it. This is not the most sophisticated of codes. It appears to be mostly replacement of letters and words. So you think with some time poring over it, you can start to see the pattern and manage to put together likely phrases and words. But it's probably going to take, well, a few days to crack the code, and then longer to actually much longer to translate the full set of books. But yeah, possibly. You reckon in less than a week you could have this code cracked?
I'll have to mess with this, and I'll take a seat and I'll just start poring over it. Irene, maybe go check on Maddie or see if we can call upon Zachary, but this will preoccupy me for some time.
I'll go check on Maddie. I'll also see about maybe getting some sustenance for the lot of us at some point, because I don't know if Maddie's been eating properly.
Yes, that would be smart.
I'll be back. And she does gently tap Lottie's hand as she goes.
Okay, so you're heading upstairs towards Maddie. So you head on up through the cold house to Maddie's room. You can feel as you get closer sort of some warmth emanating out. It appears to be the only room in the house that has actually got a fire lit.
Maddie?
No response, but the door cracks open a little when you knock on it. Maddie's sitting in front of the fire, staring into it.
It's just me, Irene. I wanted to check on you and see how you're doing, and is it all right if I come in?
Still no real response.
going to walk in.
Maddie's just staring at the fire. She's listening intently to whatever has been catching her attention. Kind of tuning out most of the real world.
Irene's gonna go and sit next to her, if possible. What's going on? What's going on?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm looking for. But I do want to thank you for helping. I'm sorry that your help resulted in my uncle's. We just missed them. They came in while we weren't paying attention.
Well, I'm still frustrated by the fact that we did miss them. That Letitia basically told them that the house was going to be in a state to where they could attack.
I think she genuinely regrets that.
I hope so.
We might be able to call upon her for some information about what Lottie is looking for.
Wait, Letitia is dead.
What?
She died that night.
Where did she die?
Down in the kitchens.
Why would she be in the kitchens? You don't remember? I remember that we went to go look for something. I didn't know that. Did we end up in the kitchens?
Yes, the Belfont sent something loose to distract us.
But Uncle wasn't left alone, was he?
Unfortunately, he was at one point. Maxwell came down to look for us when he hadn't heard from us in a little bit. And that's when they struck.
I'm so confused. I don't remember being in the kitchens at all.
It's all right. Your memory should come back in time. It was quite a shock. So I can understand completely why you don't remember. But I'm here for you. Anything you need. Do you know anything about Sir John's will?
I was in hospital. I only came back early this morning. They had to stitch up my injuries.
Well, he left the house to all of us.
All of us?
You, Lottie, me, Maxwell. To make some sort of society of some kind to defend from unseen forces or whatnot.
Which is what we were doing originally, yes?
Mhm.
I'm gonna stare into the flames some more, straining my ears, listening for anything.
Lady Irene is going to back up, now realizing that fully that Maddie doesn't remember that she got stabbed by Lady Irene. She's going to. I'll let you know when I have some food brought in, so that we can sup.
Okay.
And she's going to close the door and head back downstairs as fast as possible.
Okay, so you head back down to find Lottie busy poring over this encoded diary.
Maddie doesn't remember anything.
Oh, anything what? What do you mean?
From that night.
Oh, well, neither do I, because I wasn't there. So, I suppose that just makes two of us now.
Mhm.
Sorry, I mean, that is unfortunate that she doesn't remember, but that's not too uncommon. I mean, it was a passing of a family member, and trauma has a way of blocking out memories. So, whether or not that's supernatural doing or entirely just psychological, it's possible. It's just a psychological protection of herself.
She's very keen on the fire again.
It's not good, considering that's what I'm investigating. It's rather concerning, in my opinion.
Just
Keen as in it's protecting her, or keen as in she wants to use it?
she's staring at it. That's all she's doing is staring at it. I could barely get her to talk to me.
I think she needs help, Irene. I mean, I'm surprised all of us don't. I mean, I probably do. we talked about therapy and therapists. We have to take her somewhere. I mean, we have to do something. She's grieving and she's struggling, and there's also the risk that it's more than that, and there's some kind of, I don't know, occult force on her. I mean, we have to do something. Do you think?
Maybe Zachary knows a good one.
Yeah, I hope he does. It would make sense if he does. I think maybe that would work, and at the very least, talking to him for more than 30 minutes would. Well, she's already insane, so he can't make her more insane, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say. So negative. Yes, no, I don't think that's a bad plan. See what he knows. Is he? Do we know what hospital he went to? Yes, he dropped us off. Perhaps we take Maddie to the same hospital. What do you think?
I'm just worried that if we take her, there. They might throw her someplace, and
That is a risk.
then Maddie won't come back to us.
I wish Maxwell was here.
Me too. Oh, wait, no.
I enjoy him. And you enjoy him too. He grows on you. Like, I assume you're hoping Zachary will grow on me. Your benefactor.
I hope. But yeah, past couple of times me and Maxwell have been around, we haven't seen eye to eye, and he threatened to shoot me. And so,
Am I the only person at this point who has only hurt enemies rather than friends? Or maybe I have hurt one of you at some point. It's hard to say. It gets lost in the shuffle, unfortunately.
I think so, but yeah, he's just afraid of me. And then he saw what happened with Maddie, and
Yeah.
he totally came in at the wrong time. He didn't understand what had happened, and
Well, I mean, this is perhaps what Sir John wanted. Not the arguing and the shooting and those things like that, but he's gifted us this estate, and he said to make a society, and maybe that's what we need. Like, truly a society, this place where people impacted by fear and occultish horrors and survivors can come and grieve and learn and study and fight, kind of as we have. I suppose you could say we're a society. So
London
perhaps
Esoteric Society has a ring.
Perhaps that's our step. I mean, if we gave... sometimes when you're grieving, it's best to grieve, but sometimes it also behooves you to busy yourself and not grieve and kind of get to a place where you're more stable and then grieve. It's hard to say, but from what I've gathered of all of us, we may be that type of people where we need something to do. So maybe Maddie could go ahead and start to, I mean, like you said, we want to change some things around here, and I wouldn't feel comfortable without doing it with her say, so perhaps we put her on a project and start renovating, start planning, seeking out people who may benefit from housing here, services here, this library. In people we can trust, though. Obviously, this can all be very dangerous in the wrong hands.
Let's start thinking on that. I guess I will go check on Zachary if you are busy.
Yes, I'm quite busy, actually. I mean, I could unbusy myself, but this is rather fascinating, and I mean, there's so many of these books. As soon as we crack the code, we have just an amount of information that I didn't anticipate us having about who knows what. So, yes, if you could do that, that would be wonderful. But I can unbusy myself if I need to.
All right.
I probably will be working on this for a few days, not a week. It's complicated.
All right.
Body will keep working.
Okay. So as Lottie busies herself over the code and as Maddie stares into the flames, Irene, you head on over to the hospital where you had dropped off Zachary earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And it will be very easy to find Zachary. He's quite a notable person and is, of course, in the best room the hotel had. Not the hotel, hospital. Very easy mistake where he is concerned. The best room the hospital.
By the time he's done with it, it's a hotel.
Has to offer. Landing back on pillows you're fairly sure are not normally there at the hospital. And as you head up to his room, you catch a sight of a familiar doctor, in fact. Although you've not seen him up round in these parts of the hospital before. You see the dark-haired, slightly too pale form of when I realise I should check. Dr. Victor Peterson, formerly the basement doctor. So dark shadows under his eyes.
Dr. Peterson, fancy seeing you up here.
Yes, an unfortunate outbreak of typhoid amongst the staff.
Oh.
But it's all successfully quarantined. Mostly, we hope now. But yes, are you visiting someone? Sorry, I didn't expect to see you here.
Yes, I'm visiting Zachary.
Oh, Mr. Carnegie. Yes.
Yes.
Sorry. For a moment, I feared you might have been here for more autopsies. I had an awful lot of explaining to do after your friend rather gutted one of my patients last time.
She has no bedside manner. At least
yes.
when it comes to bodies.
Quite exactly. Well, he is through there. Do you wish me to accompany you, or?
No, it's fine. It's fine. Is he well? Is he going to be okay?
He'll be fine. I would recommend a couple of weeks bed rest and no more diving into the Thames.
Yes, that.
A most foolish endeavour all round. Well, it was
nice seeing you again.
Yes. Now I must be getting on.
Zachary, you all right?
I believe I will be, should the doctor come back with another of their fine cocktails of cocaine and morphine. However, I don't think that's happening anytime soon. Something about bodily limits. How was your trip to the library, home, place, whatever?
We're doing well. We are researching. We found some interesting books with some sort of code. It's fantastic.
Interesting in the way that most people would interpret it, or the way that I would interpret it?
Well, we haven't cracked it yet, so it's very curious. It's very intriguing. Oh.
Intriguing is good. I don't suppose you could see it until private care can be arranged. I'm going to be stuck here, although I should have a private nurse and room within a day or so. Once I've located those things back to my suite at the Savoy, I will, if you wish to bring by anything you want me to examine, I'm more than happy to lend whatever limited expertise I might have.
I do appreciate it, Zachary. Our other friend happens to be at the home. We weren't expecting her back. She was supposed to be out and about, possibly relaxing and on holiday after.
Do I detect a slight tremble of reproach when you say something like not expected or should be on holiday?
Well, it was her great uncle that died via drowning at the dining room table.
Oh, are you saying that there's some connection between what happened to him and what happened to me? Delicious.
And she is off her rocker a bit. I thought about bringing her with me, but I was afraid they might, one, she might fight me on coming, or two, they might throw her someplace and lock her up.
Well, unfortunately, most of the places that I've had experience with are across the pond. Should she ever wish to, I do have a regular standing vacation home at the uh, I would say they say asylum, but I prefer to think of Danvers State as a home away from home. I could recommend several doctors that I think would benefit her. In the interim, however, if you would like to gather up anything you want me to look at and swing it round to the Savoy, I should be discharged soon, and private care should be obtained by then.
All right. I just wanted to make sure you were doing all right and figure out where you were
Hmm.
going to be heading. Um,
Your concern and compassion is touching, Lady Irene. I could not ask for a better friend made in such a short period of time. Could you scant believe it's been only 24 hours since I saw you at that bar looking tragic and common, in all of the best ways?
oh my goodness. It's very strange to think of, and now we are talking about interesting things, and you are falling into the Thames and getting a fish jammed into your lungs. Oh, just a fantastic way to make friends. Just fantastic. I mean, come on. So I will let you rest. I will let you know Maddie is American, so at some point that might have to happen. But we
Oh,
probably
then we
need to
shall have
get.
something in common. There's nothing like two people hailing from the same country to bring them together.
We shall see if we can get her around. Lottie is poring over books right now, and I will bring over something interesting whenever we can find something that's worth bringing up to you.
Well, I look forward to it. I believe nothing will bring me as much pleasure as potentially helping all of you. So yes, please be a gem and run it on over, and
Yep.
I will meet you then.
Yes. And I'm assuming the doctor has told you no orgies, right?
Um, Despite my own admitted depravity and predilections for things that are scandalous, I do not think the best idea would be to frolic and romp with the people that happen to reside here at the moment, though I have been looking at a double amputee that seems quite intriguing.
And that's where Lady Irene will blush and go and leave. leave.
Oh, Lady Irene, don't be scandalized. You still have a leg up on that one. Puns.
All right. So, as
So I'll be
yep,
arranging a. I will find reputable and best quality doctors to attend me at the Savoy, as well as have a convalescence area set aside in my suite, so that I am no longer at this particular hospital and able to receive better care than I would here.
indeed. So yes, you set up. You set yourself up with a doctor who is used to working on living patients, and a very skillful nurse. And with Zachary resting up in uh, in the Savoy, with Maddie uh, taking a little time to dwell on what's happened and also to recover from being stabbed in the abdomen with a cavalry saber. I think this is a good time to go for a break, and I think we will pick up with our little coterie of investigators here in possibly a few weeks' time. So, we will see you in 10 minutes. This is what happens when I turn away from the screen for the briefest of moments. 10 minutes, vanishes just like that. But welcome back to the London Esoteric Society. And before the break, people were looking around libraries and going slowly insane. So just a normal Saturday for Call of Cthulhu investigators. But as we left off, most of our investigators were going to spend some time on some well-earned rest and recovery. Well, 2 weeks of it at least. So we'll just begin with getting out of the way a couple of roles for those of you who are currently laid up in hospital or otherwise recovering. So, Maddie, would you mind giving me a con roll, please? For your first...
Green or purple?
The green one, please, because you are not in a hospital.
Oh, that is
Hey, an extreme
success.
All right. Roll me 2d3, please. All right, d3s all around here.
That's a 5.
So you have recovered 5 hit points from your first week, and you can untick the major wound, which means that
Wonderful.
you no longer have to roll the con roll for the second week. So you can bring your hit points back up to 10 after these 2 weeks, because 1 more is all you need.
Those doctors were good to me.
Yeah, you are in body recovered. In
Okay.
mind, no.
Oh, nothing?
Do you have, well, are you taking any measures to try and seek healing?
I am reading romance novels. Jane Austen, you know.
Well, give me a sanity roll. Let's see how well this self-help fares you.
Green one? Oh, that was a fail.
Yeah, it's going to take a little more than Jane Austen novels to drive the incessant piping from your ears.
Wonderful.
And every time you pass a flame, occasionally you see the flickers from the corner of your eyes. Either a flicker of green or the way the flame just seems to curve towards you as you move past it. But other than that, everything is fine.
Wonderful. I do search my great uncle's office and room to see if he's got anything hidden that I should probably be aware of.
Yeah, so you've had 2 weeks rummaging around the house. In terms of his office, what you would find is tucked away in the back drawer of the desk is another volume of his diaries. This one, not quite complete, and for the year 1881. Written in the same coded language as the others downstairs. And it leaves off the very day of his death.
Wonderful. I guess I'm also looking for maybe a list of ciphers for it.
There is no list of ciphers for it. Whatever this code is, he clearly knew it well enough by heart. Tucked away in the other drawers, you are able to find, there's a few, there's a small miniature painting of a woman who bears somewhat of a resemblance to you, and you can probably pinpoint as being your grandmother, his sister.
Well, I'll keep that.
There's some medals of service from his time in Malta, and some of his father's medals of services from the Peninsular War as well.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you to give me a spot hidden just for the last couple of things here.
Okay, green or purple?
Just the green one, please.
Just making sure. It didn't click.
There is a safe in his office, and you are able to find the combination. Inside the safe, you do find
There we go.
A silver
It's either a
flask that you
success or a hard
recognize.
success.
Yeah. So inside the safe, there is the silver flask you recognize from that very first evening when you met Irene and Lottie.
Okay.
Tucked away in the shelf. It's still cold and clammy to the touch.
All right, I'll leave it there.
But tucked away at the back of the safe, wrapped up in thick fabric, are what appear to be 6 sheets of lead. Bent and dinted. They look old, like clearly worn by time. And hammered into them are letters in Latin, crammed together in a very sort of Roman style, where they've missed out letters here and there, they've crammed in words to make it fit properly. Looks like a very old inscription on these lead plates.
I'll take tracings of them. Or rubbings, not tracings, rubbings.
Okay.
And then I'll wrap them back up and place them back in the safe. And I'll shut the safe and lock it again.
Okay. But other than that, mostly what you find are his general office accoutrement. You know, there's books of accounts, there's some very nice pens. But nothing else that leaps out to you as particularly alarming.
Okay. And what about his bedroom?
His bedroom? Actually, possibly the diary would have been in the bedroom rather than the office. But he's not a man of many fine things. His clothing is decently made, but nothing fancy. He doesn't appear to have gone in for many jewels or extravagant fancies. He's got a couple of nice pairs of cufflinks and a rather nice pocket watch in a drawer by his bed, with an engraving in the back which says to JW from WB.
Okay. Are there any secret hidden things? Like the back of the wardrobe pops open to reveal a secret cavity of things that should not be seen, or maybe a floorboard under the bed, or behind one of the
give me a spot hidden. Let's see. Yeah. What?
That's a success.
Searching around, and there is a sad lack of secret compartments behind his wardrobe. You do, however, find a loose floorboard under the bed. And tucked under there are 2 rather beautifully illustrated books. Well, beautiful is perhaps a nebulous term in this context. Technically well illustrated books of, let's call it exotic art.
All right. I will put those back. And
Your poor
I
eyes.
will, I don't need to see that. That's okay. I will take the rubbings that I have from the lead sheets, and I'll go study them. See if I can determine. I'll find a Latin dictionary or something that I can maybe possibly translate things into.
Okay. Meanwhile, during those 2 weeks, Zachary, could you please give me a con roll with a bonus die, so that would be the purple one, for your first week of hospital
say,
care?
usually it's a medicine roll for the people that are treating me because I'm getting full care. But
Yeah, I'm using the recovery ones where you get a bonus die for being in the appropriate hospital
all right, so
situations, well cared for.
Purple one first.
Yes. We're assuming
Purple
here that they
one.
have succeeded on their medicine roll.
Okay. And then green.
So, purple one, that is a hard success. So please, roll me 2d6. Which for you, I think is all your hit points.
Just about. We'll find out. Yeah, that's 4. That's all my hits.
You make a full recovery back to, well, whatever health you had before. But,
wound is
yes.
The cracked ribs wound is gone, I believe.
Yes, major wound you can remove, and you are well rested.
I am right as rain after a week of round-the-clock medical care with a handsome doctor and a comely nurse.
Exactly. Is there anything else you would have liked to have been doing in your spare time during these
Well, if they brought
2
me any
weeks?
books, then I will look those over from my hospital bed. If not, I am going to pen a letter to the people that were goodly enough to invite me to their estate, addressing it to my friend with the lung water, that I truly enjoyed our conversation, and I look forward to exploring it more in the future. Due to the after effects of his impressive and fully consented display, I will be about 2 weeks before joining him as I recover. But I remain an ardent fan and supporter of his work and look forward to showing him my own contributions to the field. And I shall send it off.
Very good. And you will receive a response in similarly polite language, inviting you to whenever you feel fully recovered, simply write, and there is an open invitation to the estate. Just give them some forewarning that you will be coming so that they can prepare appropriate accommodations. And Charles, who has signed off, apologizes once more for the fish.
Charles and I are going to be best friends. I can tell.
Okay.
All right, so yeah, I guess I'm waiting at this point, and if they bring me something, I'll look it over. Otherwise, if one fetches me and I have an open invite, I will go to the house myself with them.
Okay. And Lottie.
Cracked the code?
Yeah. So, probably only takes about 3 days of work to crack the code. It's a combination of, well, mostly it's replacing. It began, it seems, in the early volume as just replacing letters with other letters and symbols. But you can see it's got a little more complex as the years go by, with whole phrases being summed up by one symbol and then some words being reversed. He gets more convoluted in hiding what he's been up to. But you don't have time to necessarily translate all of it. Are there any particular parts or years you would like to focus
on? The beginning and the end.
Okay, because you have here,
yeah.
Well, actually, pretty much exactly 60 years worth of diaries.
Yeah. So, how many would you say I'd be able to skim through and read through within the time that we're given?
4.
I'd read the last 2 and the first 2.
Okay. So, The first two are much sort of easier to translate. As he was clearly only sort of forming the ideas of his cipher at the time. And you can see the sort of halting writing of the first line, which notes that, "From now on, I shall keep my diary in code. I'm so obscure it from Martha's prying eyes. Curse the god that gave me such a nosy sister." And the early books, to be honest, the first book doesn't seem to have much in the way of arcane insights in it. It mostly seems to be the diary of let me get my age right here. I think it appears to be about 16 or 17 at the time of writing it. About as exciting as you would expect a teenager's diary to be.
If the first one is mostly teenage, then so what I would do is I would read the first one, and then I would skip to around the time that my aunt died. I would read the year of my aunt's death, and then I'd read the last two.
Okay, so yeah, you skip through from the first book. What you gather is he was living at a country estate with his sister, in the care of his uncle after his father had been killed in the Peninsular War. So they were growing up on this. They'd been growing up on this estate, and he was very interested, aiming to go to university and wanted to, be a great discoverer of history. He spends his spare time digging around the grounds and poking around, looking for old bits and bobs. You would actually... There is one thing of interest in that first year of diary before you get onto the year your aunt died. Is that he mentions digging something up. That on one of his ventures outside the house, he was digging close to the Thames Head. And he describes coming upon some lead votive tablets buried deep under the roots of an ash tree. And endeavours that he will improve his Latin in order to translate them, for their writing and composition seems annoyingly obscure.
Interesting. Okay.
But moving on to the year of your aunt's death, at this time, John was in Malta working for as a diplomat. So a lot of this diary is accounts of diplomatic scandals and dinner party disasters, and also a few notes on the ongoing war in the Crimea that was going on at the time. He mentions that he is trying to obtain a particularly interesting herbal tome from a family in Portsmouth, and he's written to a Miss Lorraine Walsh, but she seems to have no inclination to sell. And there's a brief sort of footnote that responses from L. Walsh have ceased, and he was saddened to hear of her death. He mentioned several times in this year is a young diplomatic attaché who has been attached to his office by the name of William Belfont, who John seems to find, from his writings, exceedingly annoying. That he is for continuously bothering him at work and snooping around his study. he also mentions several times in it his friend Martin Cresswell, who is unfortunately consigned to the Bethlehem Royal Hospital, otherwise known as Bedlam at the time, and John's concern for Martin's daughter, Letitia. And there is a brief mention that that year she got married to a Mr. Matthew Clark. But this diary again seems free of much mention of the Eldritch or Arcane, except for in its mentions of the misfortunes of Martin Cresswell. He is driven mad by a mixture of grief and by spending a little too much time translating books that should probably have been well left alone. So, moving on.
I would read the last two.
To the last 2 years. Again, a lot of this is accounts of society gossip. Little scandals here and there. Sir John seems to sort of revel in keeping a little note of what everyone's been up to, and, Sir Randolph was caught in the gardens of a fine estate with one of the ladies' maids late one evening. He claimed to be hunting ghosts with her, but it seemed little to be believed. But there's also increasing mention of his own failing health and his worries that when he's gone, there's no one to sort of keep an eye on people like Letitia and the Belfonts, and his sort of deep concern that there are things stirring. He mentions dreams of water rising many times, and concern that Belfont is dabbling further and further into things that should be left alone. He expresses concern that no one has seen Belfont's wife for years, and he calls the children those disquieting twins. His uncanny nature bears further investigation. And he seems to have reached a conclusion that he needs to find someone to carry on his work. And he dismisses that all his previous associates and apprentices were vastly unsuitable. And there he mentions Belfont, he mentions Cresswell, and he mentions a man called Henry Royce, who apparently died in some tragic and unfortunate manner. And he seems to have settled on the conclusion that this is too great a task for one person alone. And therefore he is attempting to find a group of people that might be able to carry on this work. And that he's been putting out feelers, he's been asking around, he has been inquiring. And looking into people he thinks might have merit. And then you start to see, as you get closer and closer to dates you remember, mentions. And you can tell from this that he knew about your connection to Lorraine Walsh and that before that night you met him. He knew about Lady Irene's name. He knew about Maxwell's family. And he wanted you to find him. and he wanted you, and he wanted Maddie there. And then as you flip towards the end, you come across something quite, somewhat disturbing. He says that he has entreated one of his servants with temptation by offering to buy from them, by hiring a disreputable character to encourage them to steal from him, and to encourage the servant to steal a certain silver bottle from his collection. And he's
All right.
in order,
All right.
as he says it, to subject those candidates to a trial by, if not by fire, then by fog.
Noted.
You have Sir John's diaries, and in future, should you wish to reference particular events or what he was up to at a certain time, you may refer to these. I am not going to inscribe 60 years worth of diaries, but I may give a timeline. Of course. I may provide a timeline of some like the key events and key pages in future. But yeah, awesome. There is a lot here. Like, this guy really liked the sound of his own pen.
Good to know.
But yeah, that will take up pretty much the whole of your 2 weeks. Which brings us at last to Lady Irene, who, well, I believe was already in fairly good health when these 2 weeks began. But is there anything else you would like to be doing in those 2 weeks?
She has mainly put out feelers to see about anything about this green flame business. She has probably had tea with Zachary a couple of times. She probably has checked in on Maddie and Lottie. You know, just trying to see how they're doing. And just trying to be a friendly face.
So, the green flame thing. I'm going to say, do you mind giving me, I'm going to call it a credit rating roll here for society connections. Or just a straight luck roll. Your choice.
Let's see. And it's weird that credit rating is a thing, but it's still awesome that it is. I'm just going to do her luck. Nah, I've got nothing.
Yeah, some credit ratings may need revising soon. There may be some changes to some credit ratings going on soon. No luck on hearing anything about the green flame in particular. However, you do hear that there has been an unfortunate case of spontaneous human combustion. It appears that the burnt husk of a woman was found in her parlour in Belgravia not 3 nights ago. Not a stick of her furniture was harmed. She was completely burnt up.
That's fascinating. That'll definitely be conversation at tea, and also, well, at tea, because I'm going to invite everyone to tea.
Well, indeed, an invitation to tea. Now, where are we holding this delightful tea?
Oh, it's gonna be fancy because Zachary's gonna be there. So, what's a good fancy place for tea in London that might give us some privacy?
I mean, you could.
That's an oxymoron.
You have a home, of course.
Yeah, but I don't want Zachary to see that.
Very, very fair. Now, let's just say a fancy tea rooms, because off the top of my head, I cannot come up with any tea rooms in London that existed in 1881, unfortunately.
All right.
But yeah, you would invite out to a lovely tea room where you've got a little private room to yourselves as outside snow is falling over the streets. Carolers singing, Christmas is drawing close. And there's sort of there's festivity in the air.
Well, with that in mind, Zachary is moving quite gingerly. However, he is still wearing his dark crimson suit. The tie, however, is going to be a bright green. He has a variant of it with trimmed white fluffy sleeves, and a matching green scarf with an embroidery of Saint Nick himself and tassels with small bells on them.
Wow.
Maddie is going to continue wearing all black, minus this little cameo on her neck. She does still have the black veil on, but she is not moving as stiffly as she was before.
Lady Irene's just dressed as she's always dressed, in all black with her brooch.
Yeah, Lottie wouldn't dress any different.
Yes.
Well, it is certainly a pleasure to meet all of you. I should have something different commissioned to be worn. I feel like I'm missing out on the team dress code.
No team dress code here, Zachary, but yes, we have Maddie Carter. As you know, I've talked at length.
Carter, tell me, are you of any relation to the Carters that of Arkham?
Arkham? No, we're from Albany in New York.
Yes, I'm actually very good friends with a Sarah Carter from upstate New York, and her extended family appears to have resided in Arkham for some time. Very, very good friends. She and I traveled in most of the same. We traveled in a lot of the same social circles, and our interests in extracurricular activities ran parallel. We studied quite a bit together.
It's possible that we might be related. I mean, New York, well, fairly big. I mean, it's possible. I don't actually know.
Well, in lieu of any further evidence suggesting to the contrary, I shall now consider you and I to be friends, based purely on this fortuitous happenstance. Detective Shaw, you look absolutely radiant today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Think nothing of it. And I'm terribly sorry for your loss as well, Maddie. It is always tough losing a loved one.
Thank you. The circumstances were the most unfortunate. And if there are any candles or lamps that have a flame, she's going to start staring at it.
Would you like one brought closer?
No. That's quite all right. I don't think she needs one. Just
Oh,
interested
very
in
well.
them.
Just noticed the looking. I figured I would be though this is obviously not my establishment. I thought I would be a good host, seeing as how, Lady Irene, lest I miss my guess, I'm paying for this little interaction.
Yes. Yes, you are.
Excellent. I do so love that you've adapted to your position as my. What does one call someone who has a patron? Are you a patronee or a employee? Not an employee.
Employee sounds too. Eh. Associate, maybe?
Yes, associate's good. Employee denotes a position of subservient, and you are most definitely not my subservient. I consider us to be great friends. And now that I'm meeting other friends who are your friends, I feel like our circle of friendship has expanded so much in such a short period of time.
Yes, and I
Um,
will.
you think they serve fish?
They might. I'm sure you could probably get some. I do want to bring up an interesting thing of note while we're having our tea. Another case of spontaneous human combustion happened in London.
That's concerning.
Uh,
Not surprising, though.
It seems that your metropolis has a fair share of people bursting into flame.
Belgravere, I believe. Again,
There's more drownings than setting fire unexpectedly.
Well, I myself almost drowned fairly recently, so I can say that I'm glad to be counted amongst one of the people who are in the it crowd.
Well, then I wonder if you'll be next for the combustion.
Ooh. I certainly hope not. Surviving drowning is one thing, but I'm far too aesthetically pleasing to warrant being set on fire. I'm all for scarring, but unless they have an excellent story and proper arrangement, I think that they're utterly unnecessary. Speaking of which, have these people all drowned on dry land, or was it merely myself and others?
quite a few people have drowned on dry land in the past few years.
A handful. As I said, we though he's not able to be here today, we do have someone in our merry band of investigators who lost someone to drowning themselves.
Well, speaking as someone that's been a part of many societies, this is the first cabal I've ever joined. I'm very excited. Provided, of course, that I am allowed to remain a member of your little band. I don't wish to presume. Now, I did hear a rumor there was a place that needed something to be researched, something with some rather interesting characteristics.
Oh, yes, Lottie. What did you find out about those books with the code and?
Oh well, I managed to crack the code. I read them.
She's ever so
I
bright.
Thank you. I read. Well, I found out quite a bit, and I think it's a lot to process. And I think it may be best not to process it here. There's some information that I personally found a bit disturbing. I mean, it coming from someone who, was part of a world of an occult. So it's there's some things to discuss for sure. Anyways, tea. This is lovely. Thank you for inviting me.
You're always invited to my tea parties. Always.
Well, I appreciate that.
And my own by proxy tea parties.
Yes,
Could have
I
held
will
this at home.
keep that in mind. Well, I mean, we've been cooped up in hospitals, some of us, right? So, and to be honest, I've been at the estate quite a bit, so nice to get out.
Just wanted to make sure that we're getting some fresh air and putting our best feet forward and talking about fantastic things. If you would like to adjourn to a more private area to talk about things that make Lottie Shaw, Detective Extraordinaire, uncomfortable, then I'm fine with that as well.
I can scarcely countenance anything that could shake the Shaw. Sorry, Detective Shaw. Don't mean to leave off your occupation. You seem quite a stalwart and fortified individual. I don't see very much that could frighten you.
Thank you.
I searched my uncle's study, and I found one of his journals. But I can't read them.
Oh?
All I could read was the date, and the last one was the day he passed.
Yes. No, yes. I've looked into those.
Well, this one was from this year.
Oh,
It was in his desk.
Sorry, I assumed that had already been passed over.
Oh,
Yeah, sorry.
no worries. Okay, never mind. Can
So,
we
yeah.
scratch that?
Yeah, the information about the
The stuff from this year was okay.
that was from that one. Sorry.
Never mind. No worries. Well then, in that case, I found something. He had a safe, and there were these lead sheets. I took rubbings of them, and I'll open my my reticule, and I'll pass them over to Lottie.
Oh, lead? They're made of lead?
The pages are the rubbings, so they were made of lead.
Ah.
I put them back, but I took rubbings, and here's the
Yes,
rubbings.
thank you. And Lottie will take them and just immediately start pouring over them.
If there's multiple ones, Zachary will take another sheet and look it over.
Yeah, each of the rubbings, so each of the tablets is about the size of the palm of your hand. These lead tablets with this very cramped Latin on it, and also a couple of.
I speak Latin.
Yeah, give me a Latin roll, please. It's
Now,
quite hard to read because it's faded and this is old.
Do you want me with a 50? One of the reasons I stopped at 50 is according to the book. That means that you are fluent in it. Is it because it's an older version of Latin?
It's because this is old, faded, dinted.
Okay.
And it's not like a clearly written Latin
That's a fumble.
text. So you
Here we go.
like pouring over, bending it over, you run your hand. Oh, well, this isn't actually the tablet. This is just the rubbings of it. So this is already like one level removed. So she kind of, it's some places it's Latin, some places not, and you find yourself sort of muttering, sort of the words to yourself as you make your way through it, and you can see it seems to be some kind of prayer or invocation and calling upon the powers of the water, the Lord of the river. May the Lord of the river, may their children come to us. May they rise from the depths. May they come to us.
I am very intrigued by this.
And I'm
Did he
going to
mutter
ask
that out loud?
you to please, as you murmur this, make me a.
Oh, he did say this out loud?
Yeah, this is a fumble here, and there is only one
Okay, I'm
appropriate
going to
thing to
pinpoint
fumbling
him.
reading terrible things. Please give me a power roll here,
Oh no.
and as you like mutter this under
That's
your
a
breath.
hard success.
I don't
Okay.
have a saber here. It's gonna be stabbings with like a butter knife.
So, as you mutter this, you feel this almost like some of the strength drain out of you. It's a familiar sensation to you, Zachary. This is how you feel when you pour your energy and stuff into calling up Chaucer. As is deduct 3 magic points there.
Happily.
And this cold sort of shiver runs down your spine. Yeah, you feel like almost your words seem to echo out for a moment.
I am going to, at that point, it's feeling clammy in the room.
This is just Zachary. So the rest of you, he murmured, he was muttering some Latin and a few words of nonsense under his breath.
Okay.
But once he was done reading them, his eyes rolled back slightly, and this smile of complete contentment took over his pale features. And his red, kind of pinkish red eyes the pupils dilate, much like someone who has recently taken a narcotic or is extremely giddy. Just becomes very languid and very, like, his posture and demeanor completely change.
And
Lady Irene, however, has seen this happen to him before.
Yeah.
Maddie, I'm gonna give me a spot hidden here, because you're a little alert and twitchy.
That's a fail.
Okay, it's fine then. But yeah, you don't all feel it to the same extent as Zachary, but you definitely notice just his voice seemed to echo and linger a little longer in the air than it naturally should as he finished reading the contents of that tablet.
We have a teapot on the table, yes? I'm going to take the teapot and take the lid off and splash him with the hot contents of the teapot.
Zachary, are you attempting to avoid being splashed by the hot contents of the teapot?
I think from a role-playing perspective, 2 things. 1, he's very absorbed in the sensations he's feeling. 2, he would never expect someone who has been sitting there in mostly silence suddenly grab a pot of tea and throw the contents at him. So I would love to say I attempt to avoid it because it's going to hurt, but he wouldn't, because he's
In
busy.
which case, I'm really sorry, but I'm going to have to ask for a con roll from you here.
Yeah, I'm good at those.
Just healed up. Oh god.
I'm the best at con rolls. Ooh,
Oh!
that is an extreme success.
As
Do
you
not
get an
take
extreme success.
any damage worth writing home about. You just get splashed by a few drops.
It didn't look like an accidental spill, I take it. She just took it and threw it at me.
She's fully standing up. She has the lid in her hand, and I'm assuming we were kind of across each other from the table. So she's standing like she just threw it at you.
Miss Carter, what the fuck why did you do that? And he is not afraid to swear in a uptight Victorian tea house.
You were trying to summon something.
I was reading. Anything that happened as a result of that is purely a unexpected extra. I can tell you that this certainly is an interesting piece of paper, but I assure you I wasn't trying to do anything. I would rate this no higher than
Is the paper now damaged?
Yes, it is now a soggy piece of paper.
Good.
What was it doing?
Do you not feel the room?
I mean, it got a little cold, but
Oh, it did something, I assure you.
Yes,
Not saying. In fact, allow me to sit down, ladies. I wouldn't want to embarrass you with a visual of something improper. Allow me to just say, though, that reading that did have quite a pronounced physical effect on me. And he sits down with his lap firmly under the table because reading that did something for him.
He is a big fan of the written word.
Oh, yes, these.
Ladies, I need a minute to compose myself. Do you have any more of those?
Composure?
Yes. And incidentally, given your earlier scandalized demeanor as I was changing, I advise not looking under the table.
Oh, my. She definitely has this kind of look of, I'm going to keep my eyes firmly up here.
I mean, unless, of course, you want to.
Maddie's gonna walk out of the room. Does the front of the tea house have a fireplace?
Yes, and I mean the room you were in did as well. And the fires are all burning as it's a cold, snowy day in late December.
No, she doesn't want to be in that room. She's gonna go stand in front of the fire in the main room and stare into it.
Okay, Maddie, please give me a sanity roll.
I was really not expecting this, Lottie.
That was a fail.
Okay, I'll just bear that in mind.
You weren't expecting this?
I can say honestly, I've never had a woman throw a pot of hot tea at me over a meeting. I mean, I've had women throw several drinks at my face over the interim of my lifetime. However, I've never had it done as a hot pot of tea in a rather opulent sitting room.
Is this your first visit to London, Zachary?
Yes, it is my first. I've mostly stayed in the States with my family's holdings, but now I'm spreading my wings and sowing my wild oats elsewhere.
I suspect that will happen again at some point. We love our tea here.
So spontaneous combustion and throwing hot teas on strangers. I believe I'm going to love London.
But yes, Lottie, someone else exploded. I tried looking for anything doing with the green flame incident. And I unfortunately came up short.
Oh, well, that's okay.
Do you want me to look into it?
He does have runnings in lots of occult circles. He is a member of the Hellfire Club, Lottie.
That's fine, I suppose. I just don't want it becoming public knowledge, I suppose, that we're investigating the things that we investigate.
Detective Shaw, I assure you, I am the very definition of discreet.
Zachary, I don't believe you.
Well, I think I'm very discreet. I could be quite garish. I'm merely attempting to embrace them. I'm embracing the holiday with this outfit, by the way. I don't normally dress like this.
Well, as long as you promise me that you'll be discreet, yes. Please look into this. I'm going to check on our friend who has absconded to somewhere else.
Yes, and if she's holding any more teapots, do send a warning.
I will. And she is going to leave Lottie and Zachary alone.
He pulls out a napkin off the table and begins wiping himself off.
Right. So, Irene, you step outside into the front of the tea rooms where Maddie is standing, looking into the fire. Maddie, as you watch this, the fire takes on this sickly green cast once more, and the flames sort of licking up out the hearth, reaching out to you as if the flames have become fingers, reaching out to coil and grasp around your hands.
I'm listening to the flames. Do I hear any of that noise from earlier?
As you listen, there is faint. Well, at first it sounds like faint pipes and faint music, and then it begins to change, and the piping becomes the sound of a man screaming. It twists and changes, the music becoming discordant as you hear this desperate scream, and see almost for a moment this flash of green flame, and then the fire dies back down into ordinary oranges and yellows.
I'm going to mutter myself. What's this mean?
And I'd like everyone, please give me a listen roll at this point, please.
Including me?
You can choose whether you wish to or not.
Nope.
I'm gonna push.
No.
I'm gonna push for a listen roll.
I guess this is more of like a passive thing,
Okay,
rather than
fine.
anything you can push.
Okay. All right, fine. Yes, I don't
I'm
hear.
engaged in conversation with someone that
Yeah.
obviously loves my being there, so I don't hear anything.
Lottie, what did you get? You might get an out from this
Failed.
conversation. In which case, no, nobody.
We're all
is.
bad at paying attention.
You're all too busy concentrating on important matters. So I'll hand it back over to you.
No, I am going to continue looking into the fire. I'm muttering to myself about what does it mean?
Maddie, what are you doing? There's the gentlest hand that gets placed on Maddie's shoulder.
And I am going to make a great big giant start and turn. Unexpected. Oh. Lady Irene. Hello.
Hey. You left the room and came out here and stared into the fireplace once more.
It felt like the fog.
The fog?
And the water. And the cold and the wet. It wasn't warm enough.
She does try and rub her shoulders just a little bit to give her some more warmth. I get it. It's been rather jarring. I just wanted to check on you as you left without saying anything.
You shouldn't have read it out loud. Whatever words it said, you shouldn't have read it out loud.
It's probably on accident. I know I mutter sometimes when I'm reading.
That's something people need to learn not to do.
I see. Do I get any feeling that she's even more perturbed than usual?
Please give me a psychology check.
Okay. Tonight is not my night. I'm
Tonight?
not seeing anything.
Draw your own conclusions.
It's all right. We'll get back to the estate with everybody, and then we'll talk more openly.
We'll need to
about-
build the fires. Every room must have a fire that we're in.
All right. I will make sure. Don't worry. We'll figure this out.
Meanwhile, back in the room where they left, Zachary and Lottie have been left unchaperoned. Quite shocking.
Lottie has not said a word.
Detective, if I may, now that we're alone, first off, I will state I understand that you seem to have some reticence regarding speaking with me. I've seen that look at a woman's face more than once, that you find my company to be somewhat disagreeable. However, I do want to stress that I am here merely to help and enjoy myself as much as possible. With that in mind, I couldn't help but notice the piece of paper that I was holding has been destroyed by your somewhat erratic friend. I don't suppose you would allow me to look over the page that you were holding. I will mind my saying it out loud. However, I do think that your friend was on to something. The one who owned the tablets. These definitely are significant and do have some level of power to them.
Oh, I mean, I have no doubt about that. I'm aware of that. I've been reading his diaries. I just. Maddie she's gone through a lot. She's lost a loved one. She's had a wide variety of traumatic experiences. We all.
I recognize shell shock when I see it.
Yes, so you would understand that reading something potentially dangerous in public that is in relation to her deceased would be disturbing, would it not?
Again, I did not intend to cause offense. If I had been saying it out loud, I apologize. I figured you were looking one over, I would look one over, and that you and I would be not accosted. This matter with the green flame as well, I find most intriguing. Keeper, could I throw an occult roll out there to see if I know anything about it?
Yes, please give me either an occult or a mythos roll here.
Why don't I do a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B? Checking occult, and then if that rings any bells, I'll see if it has any significance with my other new thing. That is a hard success on the occult roll. And a hard success on my Cthulhu mythos roll.
Okay. Oh god, now I actually have to provide information.
Dang
I
it.
lucked out.
So,
Dang it, Keeper.
from the occult side of things, there is a long-standing tradition of people gathering round in dark places to worship gods of fire. And the cult of the green flame, whether its origins were in something real or whether its origins were more in an excuse to get drunk in a cave, seems to be cults that involves lighting fires and potentially burning various compounds and powders in the fire to get a lovely green flame and sort of worship and call upon gods. That's the cult as it stands. But you know that it is based on something much more true and much more dangerous. Whether directly or sort of having filtered down the knowledge of a real being, a real, well, calling it a god might be not entirely correct, but I find the correct page because I can never bookmark things correctly. This column of sick greenish flame that bursts from the ground, this sort of venomous fire of corruption and poison that is said to dance before the demon sultan in his courts as the mad pipes playing. And this entity thrives not just on fire, but on death, corruption, and decay, and is supplicant before the greater god, the greatest of all the gods. And you, I'd say with a hard success, are aware of the name that comes with this being, this green flame of decay. And that is... well, you've only ever seen it written, though you're not entirely sure of the pronunciation. But... Solska? Maybe? It's definitely something
So
you're aware of.
as Lottie is describing this to Zachary, he occasionally will just a quick 1 or 2 word prompt for her to confirm a few things. And then once she's done, this kind of slow smile creeps over his face. Detective Shaw, this has become very, very interesting. I'm glad that I met with all of you. I have a feeling, though, that the information that I know about this may not be... I mean, I have no problem discussing it here. No one's truly listening, and if they did, they wouldn't be able to make sense out of it. But this does relate to some activity from an ancient cult that I am aware of. And a particular being, in fact. My notes reference it several times.
I definitely would prefer we don't speak of that in public, but
And
I can't stop you if you choose to.
And giving your friends fetish for flame and pyromania, it may not be the best idea to discuss this in front of her straight away. I have a feeling that I have now put 2 and 2 together on some of the reasons for her affliction.
All right. Yes, well, let's gather them and head back to the estate. Or, for your purposes, the first time to the estate.
Excellent. I shall send for a carriage. I'm still rather tender, and I believe the car might not be the best idea, especially on snowy streets. Thank you, by the way, Detective Shaw, for the information and for trusting me to participate in this investigation. I know that my manner can come off as a little non-standard, but I appreciate your trust.
Of course.
Incidentally, I wish to call upon something. I think that saying radiant when we first met might qualify as a bit of a pun, since Lady Irene did call you bright after that. So, bright, radiant, you.
I've always tried to think about things logically.
Oh, it's like a albatross around one's neck. It anchors you in the here and now, but logic is it's a stone that just brings us down over time.
I suppose in some ways. Let's go find the others. And Maddie will go ahead and stand.
And now that his physical affliction at the after using magic has faded to a dull roar, he will stand. And did she pocket the paper, or did she leave it there?
Lottie would have taken it.
Okay, I had to ask. As they walk back, Zachary is beaming and throws Lady Irene a excited nod.
I see you two got to know each other better.
Yes, we got along like a house on fire.
She looks
Yeah.
over Lottie really quickly.
I suppose that's the term.
Fascinating. All right.
But yes, it's been revealed that well, there's much to discuss, as already was revealed, but between Sir Zachary and I, yes, there's
Sir,
we
no. I'm not aristocracy. No. Just like you don't like being referred to as Miss Shaw, rather detective. I prefer Zachary, Mr. Carnegie. Oh God, based on circumstance.
Mr. Carnegie then
Yes,
has some
thank you.
information worth discussing in private.
Well, let's hurry then. Let's get to where we can be more in private. And
Yes, this matter about the green flame has been most intriguing, and I recalled a few bits of information.
so, Keeper, is it safe to say we abscond?
Yes, indeed.
Maddie does have to be pulled away from the fire for her to leave.
Lady Irene does do so. It's very much that gentle, come on, but there is some force there. There will be plenty more fires at the estate.
Zachary reaches into his breast pocket and pulls out a lighter, one of those newfangled gas oil lighters, and slides it to Irene. In case she would feel more comfortable with a source of flame to focus on as we walk.
Lady Irene looks over at Maddie. She's going to, I'm assuming it's a fairly easy contraption to utilize. So she opens it up, strikes it, and it's kind of like, here. You see this? Is that what you want?
I'm not a moth.
You've been acting like one recently. Come on.
Are we going home?
Yes, there's much to discuss, and it'd be better to do in private.
Yes. So you head out of the tea rooms. You have to take a slight detour to get back to Grosvenor Square because it seems there's some kind of commotion on the road. A carriage appears to have crashed into a lamppost. But no matter, there's plenty of roads and other ways to get back to Sir John. What was Sir John's house? And it doesn't take you long to return. And Zachary, you've not seen this house before. As you pull up, it's Grosvenor Square is a very, very nice address. You've got this lovely square with a little park in the centre and these tall, very grand houses around the outside. Number 18 is no exception. Pulling up to the front, you see like pillars on the front of the house, steps leading up that lead into this grand entrance hall with staircase leading up to this beautiful airy gallery on the floor above. It is a beautiful house.
This is very nice.
If a little cold and empty at the moment.
That's okay. Zachary has his red wool Santa coat that he's had commissioned on. with a matching top hat with some poly.
Unfortunately, no one recognizes it because not really caught on as the attire of Father Christmas yet.
Yet.
Maddie is going to climb the steps to the front door quickly and unlock the door quickly and head straight into the parlor and start laying a fire.
After you both. And he holds the door.
And we shall go in then. This is where I think we're still working on the name, but the London Esoteric Society sounds like it has a
There's
ring
a lovely
to it.
ring to it. It's the kind of thing where I'm sure in years from now the Penny Dreadfuls will speak of glowingly. Now, let's gather and dish.
I do love a good dish session. So let's set up. All right.
And since Zachary doesn't know where they keep the liquor around here, he pulls out that same flask with the inscribings and symbols on it and begins to sip from that.
Maddie will sit closest to the fire. This is the room she's decided that they're all going to have their discussion in.
We did let her pick.
So, Green Flame. There are numerous historical accountings of cults of various worshippers of forgotten or completely fictionalized deities, most of which would mix what we now know to be a chemical compound into the fire to cause it to become different colors, greens and blues being the most common non-standard. Most of the time it was a light-grade narcotic, so it would allow the worshippers to feel closer to their god while experiencing something most of us would feel from the juice of the poppy, or perhaps opium. The more intriguing part is that there is a cult that existed thousands of years ago that worshipped a being known as Zulchka, I believe, an attendant of one of the more extreme and little-known deities of their particular mythos. It's said that piping was a form of worship for that individual. In addition, the deity that this was specifically reserved for, Zulchka, was regarded as a pillar of fire and corruption. Grotesque sort. I'm assuming it was some form of doomsday cult that was focused on feeding its sacrifices in poisoned vapor. But the deity does have several references throughout the aeons.
Wow.
I don't know what it was that your group saw or your friends were into, but it does have some legitimate occult significance. A few of my books referenced it.
What about fires? Fires starting on their own.
That is one of the legends about the cults over the years, is that they used fire as a form of worship. My assumption is that much like how they were able to utilize magic to drown one on dry land, and I'm assuming some worship of a sea deity or creature, I imagine that these cultists can utilize a form of that using fire, which 2 and 2 being 4 may also lend some credence to these spontaneous combustions. It appears that London is rife with these followers of various old forgotten gods. and that a few people have learned some actual ability. It's rare.
Mhm.
I don't go in for the forgotten god worship myself, but there are a number of other skills and spells one can learn, separate from those circles that use a similar philosophy.
So we still need to work on that body. Take a look at, see if we can get into the crime scene to take a look around. But we've got.
I would also like to consult a friend of mine on this matter. I assure you the utmost discretion will be used in contacting. He and I have a very secure form of communication, but I would be curious to see his insights on the matter.
As long as it's all right with Lottie and Maddie, I'm fine with it.
I believe the two of you are already acquainted, Lady Irene.
Chaucer.
Yes, I figured you'd be able to vouch for his efficacy in this matter. He's very knowledgeable regarding certain things, and I assure you his ability to pass on additional information to other parties is very limited. He's the very soul of discretion. In fact, I've never even heard him utter a single word to another person.
It's true. I didn't even think it could speak. It's a friend of his. I believe it'll
How
be
can
all
you
right.
hear a word if you're not there 100% of the time?
That is an excellent question I have not pondered, nor do I believe I wish to. And there are some things that if one were to focus on for too long, might go mad. I prefer to ride the edge rather than tip on the other side of it.
Well, as our investigators are, well, at least in some parts making some plans to investigate matters, I think this may be where we will have to wrap things up for this week, as once more the clock is ticking towards the end.
Yes, time flew by.
Time flies by when you're up to cultish shenanigans. Not that you guys are a cult. You guys are a cult.
Yet. We just haven't chosen the deity.
Yes. So, as we leave things off this week, you've got many alleys of investigation to pursue as this flame licks up across London. As the piping grows louder. And the festive season approaches.
I have a set of those.
And we will be back next week. And because it is Halloween, we will be doing a specially seasonal festive session, which will be Christmas themed, obviously.